Wall Street on Friday was besieged with a tsunami of developments as Donald Trump raised trade fares again, warning Apple and recommending stiffer duties on the European Union. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 0.61%, the S&P 500 shed 0.67%, and Nasdaq Composite dropped 1% and settled at 18,737.21. Apple sank as the US administration threatened that iPhones sold in the US must be made in the US or face a tariff of at least 25%. Other iPhone makers exporting to the US could also face similar charges. President Donald Trump said he would extend the deadline for the European Union to face 50% tariffs until July 9 after a phone call with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Earlier, Ursula von der Leyen had said the EU was ready to advance talks, but Trump should return to the original 90-day negotiation period. Premium for uncertainty is back, and analysts now suspect that the roller coaster ride of de-escalating and re-escalating tariff tensions from what looks like random and knee-jerk trade-related pronouncements could be a new normal for Trump's second term. And in a podcast last week, Elon Musk spoke of a future with tens of billions of humanoid robots. We look at some of the scenarios. Hello, welcome back to this edition of Global Business Insights, where we offer perspectives on the business environment and the latest on drivers moving markets. Musk's social media platform X is now restored for most users after an outage impacted tens of thousands of users in the US. That was on Saturday. Musk says he's back to spending 24/7 at work and sleeping in conference server and factory rooms as there are critical technologies being rolled out. First, on the future, according to Elon Musk, Elon has said a lot of things that are hard to digest on the need to populate an alternative planet like Mars. But in a podcast last week, he shared his views on a future AI-driven world populated with robots.
There will be ultimately billions of humanoid robots. All cars will be self-driving.
In 10 years?
In 10 years, probably 90% of miles driven will be autonomous.
Huh.
Wow.
That fast?
Yeah. In 5 years, probably 50% of all miles driven will be autonomous. Goods and services will become as close to free. So it's not as though people will be wanting in terms of goods and services.
So why is that? Why are goods and services free in an AI world or close to free?
Well, you have, I don't know, call it tens of billions of robots. They will make you anything or provide any service you want for basically next to nothing. It's not that people will have a lower standard of living. They'll have actually a much higher standard of living. The challenge will be fulfillment. How do you derive fulfillment and meaning in life?
I see two main scenarios in, say, 50 years, if what Musk says is true. We could see one with little need for political walls and boundaries, more globalization, free trade and movement in also this liberal view of the future. In this scenario, resource-rich economies make resources available to resource-starved economies in a different, fairer global resource-sharing model where there is also free movement and choice in residence and reduced gaps on quality of life thanks to extensive global deployments of technology. Governance tends to be more globalized, and so will be financial structures as global digital currencies render exchange rate distortions irrelevant. Global governance models could also make illicit funds flow impossible and corruption easier to control. Artificial intelligence will enable so much resource efficiency and wealth at limited costs, and excess capabilities and capacities can be better deployed to reduce inequalities. In this scenario, the world has found ways to use AI to bridge infrastructure and standard of living gaps. Another scenario, perhaps in the shorter term, maybe 20 years ahead, we could get one of extreme inequality, forcing stricter border controls to manage immigration. Inequality will foster racial frustration and some instability, but the increased use of AI and technology could be a driver to reduce crime and terrorism. A different global order will find a way to share global wealth better. For example, we could see much lower costs of borrowings for poorer countries now held back by poor risk ratings. We could also see tariff and trade concessions to help poorer countries. Freer and more generous flow of investments will eventually reduce infrastructure deficits in developing countries, and we could see use of AI being more ubiquitous even in poorer countries. Boundaries, borders are AI managed with almost zero tolerance for illegal flows as citizens' movements attract with vast technology processing power. We could also have different combinations of both scenarios. Musk may be right, standards of living are higher, but the challenge will be fulfillment and the quest for deeper meaning in life. Even as length of life can be extended with better health services, more AI is used to do over 20% of what nurses used to do, and monitoring of patients. And pharmaceutical research and development is radically also improved by AI. But AI can easily be a powerful and selectively destructive force if the necessary guardrails are not agreed and executed. There is a worst-case scenario of AI-driven chaos and obliteration. We need more voices speaking on respect of all life and intolerance for hatreds driven by different perspectives on issues to avert abuse of AI to wage intelligent wars as we have never seen before. Indeed, the so-called peace through strength today is more like kicking the can further down the road. But even today, we are seeing AI being used more than ever, and its deployment accelerated due to the spike in uncertainty and the trade-related volatility in particular. A more difficult and unpredictable environment requiring faster response and adaptability has made AI more compelling to support business intelligence as companies prepare to respond to a vast array of possibilities in terms of supply chain and trade scenarios. According to Accenture, we are also seeing the most advanced autonomous supply chain models, which now combine automation, that's machinery replacing manual tasks, and delegation, machines independently making decisions using AI, while at the same time maintaining the synergy of human plus machine collaboration. In a recent report on CNBC, several tech firms say they're already deploying AI to visualize businesses' global supply chains, from the materials that are used to form products to where those goods are being shipped from, and of course, understanding how they're affected by a far more dynamic tariff environment, adding that uncertainty from the US tariff measures is presenting possibilities for AI to shine. Companies now use supply chain network data with AI to help firms understand the logistics impacts of adjusting suppliers due to tariffs. We have a new level of visibility and intelligence as tariff costs, lead times, transportation costs can be dynamically modeled to inform smarter decisions in real time. This means, equipped with AI, global trade can be transformed from a challenge into a proactive, data-driven advantage. AI was always there as a key investment priority. Now there is a stronger case for its assimilation. Artificial intelligence is already being involved in inspecting physical assets at cross-border transit points like airports, being used to adjust supplier strategies, to adjust trade lanes and manage duty exposure dynamically as policy landscapes evolve. Salesforce says it has developed a new import specialist AI agent that can instantly process changes for all 20,000 product categories in the US customs system and then take action on them as needed to help navigate changes to tariff systems. In short, the conclusion now, according to reports, is that the sheer pace and complexity of global tariff changes is making it nearly impossible for most businesses to keep up manually. Now to more business news. Apple is doing a lot of rethinking on how to respond to the possibility of being lumbered with a new 25% tariff, deciding on how much erosion of margins it must endure and what to pass on to customers. In the medium term, it may be able to reconfigure its supply chain significantly, but Apple may still be a few years away from producing iPhones with cheaper humanoid robots. And we could see a negotiation for more time if it can give some commitment to move to a more made in the USA model as soon as possible. Apple is not open with its detailed financial model. It may come to how much the additional cost of producing in the US is higher than 25%. Some analysts have said we are talking of more than double the cost, and it will still be far cheaper to produce in India, even with an extra 25% tariff. This may also force Apple to remove less profitable low-end models from its iPhone lineup to minimize the tariff headwind. Other analysts say Apple can extend its new launches to a 2-year cycle, spreading costs better by extending the timeline on expensive manufacturing changes. And it may all come down to Tim Cook's negotiation skills. I would not underestimate Apple's innovation savvy to adapt, and I won't be counting out Apple so quickly. Harvard University on Friday won a court order that temporarily blocks a plan by Trump's administration to bar it from enrolling international students, siding with Harvard's view that it will sustain immediate and irreparable injury from the order. The merger of US Steel and Nippon Steel after the Japanese steelmaker's previous bid to acquire its US rival, which had been blocked on national security grounds, may have been cleared. Trump, in a post, said the planned partnership between United States Steel and Nippon Steel could create at least 70,000 jobs and add $14 billion to the US economy. A British fishing vessel has been seized by the French authorities accused of illegally fishing in their waters and is being held at the port of Boulogne, unable to leave. The crew are alleged to have been fishing in French waters without a license. The incident comes days after Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer was criticized by British fishermen and opposition parties over his reset deal with the European Union, which gives EU fishing vessels access to UK waters for 12 more years. Nvidia will launch a new artificial intelligence chipset for China at a significantly lower price than its recently restricted H20 model, and plans to start mass production as early as June. This will be part of NVIDIA's latest generation Blackwell architecture AI processors and is expected to be priced between $6,500 and $8,000, well below the $10,000 to $12,000 the H20 sold for. Uganda is reported to have unearthed over 31 million metric tons of gold ore, with an estimated 320,000 plus tons of refined gold hidden beneath its soil, valued at $12 trillion. The Bank of Ghana held its main interest rate steady at 28% on Friday, also as expected, maintaining its tight monetary policy as inflationary pressures continue to ease due to exchange rate stability and fiscal consolidation. Stock markets across Asia edged higher and the euro rallied. European stocks also opened higher as investors assessed Trump's postponement of 50% tariffs on EU imports. Well, that's it on this edition of Global Business Insights. Thanks for watching. This is Bode Oshosani. Bye-bye.